Call me old man Wade.
Damn you, old man!
Wait.
Old ass man.
Shut up, old man. You smell like fart.
No!
Old man.
He's so old, he got a podcast on cassette.
Fuck, you're old.
Damn it, Wade.
Welcome to the Old Man Wade Show. I'm your host, the God of Stubborn, the Lord of Laughter, Old Man Wade, and I'm sitting here with the pinnacle of political perfection, the superior podcast hobby.
Yo, what's going on? The superior pocket. What?
You got
I'm a
new show.
podcast now?
That's why I'm announcing it, man. You got a new show, so
Yeah. Oh, snap. We'll see. Yeah. I'm excited about that. Politics with Super Woke Politics with Super Woke Hobby. I don't know about the name yet. I might change that. We have our first episode should be out this week, and yeah, whatever. Excited about it, but I don't know. There's a lot of stuff happening right now.
yeah, but it's all good shit though. Like, you know what I mean? It's not even just a new podcast. You do the audio and the clips for Pandagasms, which has their first live show December 16th. Make sure you go to the Pandagasms Instagram page for start time, where the show is going to be, who's going to be there, and all the good stuff. It's going to be adult conversation, cash bar. So, you know, bring your money. It ain't open bar. And make sure you tip your waitress and your bartender when you go. So yeah, like you actually got more than one thing going on. So it makes sense.
That's a lot right now. Getting that live show going. That's a new thing. That's a different thing, man. Like it's exciting though.
It should be, man. New experience. I feel like I was having this conversation with my therapist about. No, actually, it wasn't my therapist. It was actually something I heard from God of War. During the game, he asked his son. Him and his son were having a conversation, and his son was going to do something that he said he needed to do alone. And Kratos goes, "Does it frighten you?" And he goes, "Yes." And he goes, "That's how you know you need to do it."
That's hilarious because that's honestly call me like poor man's Kratos' son, because like honestly I feel that way about a lot of things, and it's been like that for a while. Like if I told myself that I was gonna say yes to everything, which is bad sometimes. I don't do that now, but at one point I said that. No matter how much my anxiety killed me or like depression or whatever, I'm like, I'm just gonna do whatever it takes. And you know, me and the wife were desperate at the time, so we had to do it. So, and I don't know, you kind of learn that that's kind of a way of just improving things, even if you know you're not where you are, you're not where you want to be in life. If you're constantly working on yourself and living new experiences, and just working on your own passions in life, man. Oh, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but it's always worth it.
Yeah, it is. But it's also scary, like you said, because you never know exactly what's going to happen. And this goes beyond just the things that may be business-wise or in terms of opportunities that come with financial gain. Like people who want to, like, I want to start school, but they're scared to do it. It's an inkling that maybe it's something that you should be doing, or starting an art project just for yourself, or just even something as simple as leaving the house. If you are, is it agoraphobic? Is that the word I'm looking for?
I believe that's the word. Yeah, I can't think of it right now, but I believe that's it.
Yeah, but just like certain things like that, like, you know what I mean? It's obviously like a phobia like that is on a much grander scale, but actually taking the leap to do things that scare you tend to be the more important things. Not always, because getting on a roller coaster isn't always necessarily like the greatest thing, but even then, that could be something like that helps you conquer a fear or helps you with anxiety or
roller coasters.
I don't do roller coasters either.
Yeah,
but like it's just one of those random things you think about. Like it could actually be something that genuinely affects people. You know what I mean? So I get it. So the idea of doing something that's scary usually means that you're going in the right direction. It was kind of dope that I actually heard it from a video game.
Or going in the very horrible direction. Don't get it twisted. It's not a video game. Sometimes if you're afraid, don't do it.
Like, oh yeah, definitely. Because sometimes there was an episode of Batman the Animated. there was an episode of Batman the Animated Series where Scarecrow took everyone's fear away.
Yeah.
And it was chaotic.
Yeah.
Because sometimes fear stops you from doing things. Like fire's hot.
Yeah.
I'm scared it's gonna burn me.
Yeah.
Don't touch the fucking stove. Don't touch the stove.
Yeah.
Or
You got to be smart too. You got to be smart in your endeavors. So you like, no matter what you're doing too. Like I feel like we all suck at things that we've never done before, right? But everything you do, if you work hard enough at it, you'll eventually get better at it. But you really need to know you really need to learn, like, and that's the best way to make whatever you're doing as safe, I mean, depending on what it is, or as risk-free as possible. There's no zero risk, but if you're really good at something, or if you really learn how to do something, you learn the mechanics behind whatever it is you're doing, then you're good. Like, you got to be smart. Don't just run blindly into things. You know, like, I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense to you, old man.
Well, it does, because like I said, there's a difference between conquering a fear and not doing something because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating go out there and tightrope just for shits and giggles, or try to go or be black and go punch a police officer in the South. I'm not saying do anything like that. I'm just saying that, like, if you're scared of something like that, if something frightens you or it makes you nervous when you're gonna try something that could be a profitable or prosperable opportunity, it could be something that could help you in the future. And even failing, even if you go out there and you fail in said thing, that's not always a bad thing.
Yeah.
Failure can make you stronger. Failure can make you more determined. And just because you fail at said thing doesn't necessarily mean that it was bad.
Did we accidentally advocate for selling drugs just now?
If that's what you want to do. But I'm not here to talk. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about Namor's bulge.
Or lack thereof.
They really CGI his bulge out.
Yeah, they do that shit all the time though. Get it?
But it's so funny. Like,
yeah.
like they're acting like comic book characters ain't got dicks. Like they literally have like
do they?
They literally have the outline of titties in suits. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you can't have. I mean, imagine Superman running around with a bulge, just.
Okay, so it's a bulge. Give a shit. It's a dick.
I mean, I don't know. I get it from. It would be distracting.
Yeah,
it would be distracting.
Might make me want to go see the movie again.
Yeah, it'll be distracting. But the fact, I mean,
just King of Atlantis got a bulge. I mean,
what I think about is the CGI artist that was tasked with that job. Like, here, your only job is to remove a bulge. Like, that's crazy.
It's like, I actually had this conversation with somebody, and it was like the Rick and Morty robot. Mm-hmm. What is my purpose? You remove bulges. Oh my god.
Yeah, that robot. Is it a series of robots? Because that robot showed up a couple times. I think that robot has a couple of purposes.
I think he probably just makes the same fucking robot. I love the fact that Rick and Morty made it a point to talk about how fucking ridiculously meta and stupid their show can be all at the same time.
Yeah, I love it.
They literally had a dude called Rhett Kahn.
So the Marvel's Mr. Nimbus.
Mr. Nimbus.
MCU's Mr. Nimbus had a bulge. And that worked.
Yeah, you can't hide that fucking. Yeah. His bulge looks like he has to wrap it around like once, like a corkscrew, just to kind of get it in the fucking short shorts.
Yeah, and it wasn't that distracting. Yeah, it could have worked.
It would do it. It flapped.
Yeah. Yes. I think that's what people wanted to see from Namor. Just a not even a bulge, just a flap. Bunch of just
Namor should have been wearing gray sweatpants.
Essentially, some green sweatpants.
Yo, what's the Atlantean version of those green sweatpants? Is those short shorts?
Green hoochie daddy shorts. Clearly, Namor style. He got the green hoochie daddy. Like, honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. Like, I never thought that once Namor was seen in live action, he would be that comic book accurate.
Nah,
I'm like, yo, the wings would be corny, right? This dude's not gonna like. I don't even think the comic books thought that because they did redesign his outfit,
yeah.
pretty heavily, right? So like,
I
but
mean, they change his outfit like once every like he changes outfits like America changes presidents.
yeah, but at least now he wears pants.
Yo, if you look like that, would you wear pants?
No, but I'm saying like
Exactly.
I'm just talking about you. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, bro. Nobody thought that Namor looked cool. Like nobody thought that.
That's true. That's 100%.
Nobody thought that shit.
That's
And everything about that character was friggin' cool, bro. Like the way he flew, the way he looked, everything, bro. It was
And I
just
also
crazy.
like that the way he flew, it wasn't just like flutter, flutter, flutter. It was
Yeah.
kind of like he had to like almost bounce off of gravity in order to like stay afloat. I kind of like that about
He
him.
was like a hummingbird.
Yeah.
That's what it seemed like. Like, you know, like hummingbirds and dragonflies, they're like the best flyers on the planet. And it looks like they took inspiration from that. Even though he had feathered wings, he flew a lot like an insect, which was crazy. This dude took out all of Wakanda by himself, basically. I don't even know why he had soldiers with him. Like, what was the point?
Yo, you know one of my I was talking to Valkyrie about Namor, and she was talking about how much of an arrogant ass he is. I'm like, oh, this is Namor toned down.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
this
Thanos.
isn't even like that. That he's like, you think he's
I mean, not
arrogant?
Thanos, sorry. He's
Huh?
he's Thor. He's literally Thor.
Yeah,
He's Thor before the he's Thor before the
for the hammer.
before the character growth.
Yes. And what's funny about it was there was one scene in particular that stuck in my head with Namor when he started talking about. He goes, "If you don't let me kill this woman, I am going to." He said it with such conviction that he was going to destroy all of Wakanda, and there was nothing you could do about it.
I mean, he was kind of right.
Yeah, it was the confidence of
Yeah.
that shit, and then at the end of it, he had like when was it Namora or Namorita was talking to
Namora.
him. It was Namora. Okay, Namora. When Namora was talking to him, and he just kind of like matter of factly said, "It's fine. We took a loss, but we're gonna end up winning in the end because Wakanda is gonna need us, and Shuri's gonna come back to me." I was like, "If this," I'm like, "Is Shuri his new Sue Richards?"
I mean, he's well, if people that aren't familiar with the comic book, and I know you are, old man, is Namor has a number of nemesi, and his three main ones would happen to be Franklin Richards,
Richards?
not Franklin Richards, sorry, Mr. Fantastic.
Is it though? Because I don't really know if
Yeah, early on,
say
yeah,
more-
definitely.
I would say more Ben Grimm than it would be Reed Richards, because Reed kind of just doesn't really. Does your nemesis does it have to be a two-way street, or can it be one-sided?
Shoot, that's a good question. I mean,
Because if
it could be one-sided.
okay,
Yes,
because
because you're that person's nemesis.
Okay, yeah, like my nemesis, not like
Yeah,
our
yeah.
nemesis. But yeah, so I guess that makes sense because I don't think you know what's funny.
Yeah,
Reed walks around like he has the biggest dick in the world because if he
Yeah.
wants to, he can have the biggest dick in the world. Like he's so secure in himself that it's like
he's smart. He's one or two. He's top three smartest people on the planet.
and he
Right,
could be
like-
number one, but it's just
Yeah.
like over the last
It fluctuates,
5 years.
right? Yeah,
Huh?
it
And well, that's
fluctuates
like-
between Moon Girl, him, and I don't
Valeria,
know.
his fucking own
Yeah.
daughter.
his own daughter. That's it.
And the funny
Yeah,
thing
that's
about
the
all
top three
that
right
is,
there.
and
Yeah.
the funny thing about all that is, the reason Reed Richards isn't number one is because over the last, we'll say, 10 years since Hickman took over for the Fantastic Four, New Avengers and Avengers that was leading up to Secret Wars, he spent more time trying to protect the universe and be in it after Secret Wars, spending time with his family than he did learning more about science. If he was like old school Reed Richards, he'd easily still be the smartest person in the world.
And he's getting there. I mean, especially if you read the Judgment Day Fantastic Four tie-in, and
Yeah.
the he's starting to get his groove back.
And that's what you gotta love Reed Richards for who he is because of that. He's not just some smart dude. And
He was deemed worthy, by the way.
He what?
He passed his test, by the way, in Judgment Day.
Oh well, yeah, it's Reed fucking Richards. I
Mhm.
don't. If I didn't read it, but I'm almost 100% sure Ben Grimm failed.
Mhm.
I would
Uh,
I would assume actually I would assume all the Fantastic Four would fail except for Reed. If I had to
I
take a
don't
guess.
remember them. I don't remember their results. That the main thing was really Reed. It seemed like
Yeah.
a coming. It seemed like a growth tale for Reed
Mm-hmm.
into the new Fantastic Four series.
I'm a,
And yeah,
before we get back to Black
yeah,
Panther,
we got totally off subject.
yeah, before we get back to Black Panther Wakanda
Yeah.
Forever, I want to say that if you're a comic book fan and you read Judgment Day, the Wolverine crossover, the Amazing Spider-Man crossover were two of my favorite side stories.
Yeah, a lot
Like,
of the yeah.
like Wolverine passed Judgment and he was mad
Mhm. Yeah, this dude could never be happy.
because
Yo,
he didn't
Wolverine's
understand how
kryptonite's happiness.
because he didn't under because he's self-deprecating and he was
Yeah.
also trying to figure out how he passed and Gene failed and he was just like this makes no sense.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Wakanda Forever, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Javi actually saw it before I did. You saw it opening night. I saw it the following Tuesday.
Yeah.
So before we get into what we thought about it, what would
Are
you?
we done with Namor?
We're gonna come. We'll come back to Namor. It
Okay.
has to. It'll come back to that anyway.
All right.
But what did you think of the movie? Like, what was your overall? What was your expectations, and what did you think of it? And did it meet your expectations?
I had very high expectations. I mean, Ryan Coogler's he is a great filmmaker, like
Mhm.
great, Oscar worthy. So I wasn't surprised that the original Black Panther was great, and I had, regardless of the tragedy, that I think would have derailed a lot of other productions. I think they're such a tight family, and this just they really grieved for this character that him that group of creatives being able to come together and create that and like inject their pain into it. It made it, even though I went in there with such high expectations, they were met. It was so good because it really I was pulled into it. Like I was pulled into their grief, right? And then the fact that it was also a really good comic book movie, like really freaking good, bro. Like as a comic book nerd, like damn, right? That and the action was crazy. And it was just a good movie, just in general. Like it was great. Like I don't know. I don't know if it's just and it might just be my emotions. And that's what movies do. They pull out emotions. And I guess this movie had, a handicap that turned into an advantage to that effect, that I'm pulled in and I was so connected. So I don't know. For me, it's a 10, bro. Like it's a great movie. How about you?
So after watching, first off, let me just say my expectations were high.
Yeah.
And since you brought up Ryan Coogler was one of the first people you brought up, I'll bring him up as well. I was writing an article yesterday, and it was about Wakanda Forever being essentially like kind of like a fond farewell or a like kind of a love letter to Chadwick Boseman.
Mhm.
And as I'm writing this, I get to Ryan Coogler, and I start talking about how difficult of a job he has. Because he has to write a second Black Panther movie, which in itself has a lot of pressure that comes with it.
And he doesn't write it himself. I just want to say that he does have help.
Well, he's a writer.
Yeah.
He's a writer.
He has a
So him and the
co-writer as well.
Yeah, obviously, like no one writes a. Just
Both
so you
black
people
men.
don't know, no one writes a movie on their own.
Yeah.
And if they do, it's usually shit like Mother.
And I want to say that not to take away credit from him, but just to give credit to where credit's due. Because I know I said his name. I just don't know everybody's name. I apologize.
There'd be no way to. We'd have to look it up, and it's probably a long list of names. And there's also ghostwriters that go into that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he has the difficult task of writing this story without someone who initially was going to lead his previous story. He gets this on the world. He in the world gets this unfortunate news that Chadwick Boseman passed. I don't know if he was privy to this information like some of the other Marvel execs and some of the cast knew, But whether he did or he didn't, he still has the job to write Wakanda Forever without the late great Chadwick Boseman. And on top of having to write the movie, and on top of having to do it without your star character, you now have to do it in such a way that it's tasteful. And you have to be aware of not just the feelings of the audience, but more importantly, his loved ones, the people who knew him intimately, his family, his friends. I believe he was married to his wife, and people who just people who knew him in general. So now you have to do this in such a way that you're showing respect for somebody who helped you become a more noticeable name. Now, granted, Ryan Coogler would have been a star even without the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it helped. So looking at everything that happened, it's a good thing that on top of him being so talented and the creative staff being so fantastic at what they did, they also had a superb set of actors. After the funeral and the credits rolled, when they had the Marvel logo and it was all Chadwick Boseman, when T'Challa's mother Ramonda came on and was talking about how you people weren't there for me, and then you're gonna ask me for something. I loved it. Her emotion, the way she just pretty much told the entire world, go fuck yourself.
Yo, that scene was crazy. Oh,
it literally gave me goosebumps. It absolutely gave me goosebumps because she wasn't just speaking as a character. You could tell that this was also the actress, the person letting these emotions out whenever she talked about T'Challa. But we can get to that later. But that opening scene where I think it was the French government thought they were going to go into a Wakandan ship and just take what they wanted, and one of the fakes, he's like, where is it? And the scientist pointed to the door, and when that door opened and Okoye popped out, I was like, yo, that's my homie right there. It was so perfect. And then all the rest of Dora Milaje took their fake scientist stuff off and beat their ass, and then marched them into the Senate, made them kneel. Like that's an unprecedented thing in a comic book movie, specifically because it's a African nation basically telling everybody else in the world, here's my dick, you can suck it, I'm out, drop the mic and leave. That's how the movie started, and I'm already emotional. And then it just keeps on hitting you with different kinds of emotions. You're sad for a second, and then you're excited, and then you're laughing, and you're ecstatic, and then you're sad again. And then like your adrenaline's going because there's a fight scene on the UMass Bridge, and you're from Boston, and you know where that's at.
Mm-hmm. That was Harvard Bridge.
I'm pretty sure that was UMass. Not UMass.
Mass Ave.
Mass Ave.
Yeah.
Mass Ave.
Yeah.
Not UMass. Mass Ave. Mass Ave.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It was it's the Mass Ave Bridge going from Boston over to Cambridge.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know what that is. I used to, like, when I used to get off of work late at night, me and Just Greg, we used to leave and like we'd walk out. We're waiting.
Yeah,
for the bus.
I lived literally 10-minute walk from there. Like that, I grew up in the South End. I grew up on Washington and Mass Ave. Like that was so, like I walked that bridge so much in my life, and seeing that in a Marvel movie was dope. But I do have to say this. Oh man, wait.
What's up?
There are a couple of neighborhoods that the French government tells their citizens not to come to when they come to Massachusetts.
Is Cambridge one of them?
Hell no. It happens to be all the ones with black people in it.
Yeah.
Right? It literally says, it gives them a travel advisory, tells them to stay away from those neighborhoods, right? And it's like, it's so frustrating to see things like that to me, is because like there's a lot of black people in Boston. And Riri Williams, I love that she was highlighted as a intelligent black woman at MIT from Chicago, which is another like historically black city. But it's kind of tiring not to see these movies kind of at least show all of Boston or show parts of Boston that people normally don't see. And this would have been the perfect opportunity. Like I'm not like they did great, but I'm just saying like it's just that people just have no idea
Well,
about us here in this city.
That's a whole different conversation for a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
About, and which is actually something I actually had a talk with somebody that I work with about. But anyway, so my expectations were high going in, and I was worried because when my expectations are too high, I'm usually disappointed. The few times I've gone in with expectations on like cloud nine was the 2 Deadpool movies, the first Wolverine movie, and Logan. Notice I skipped the second one. Out of those movies, Wolverine Origins disappointed me. Both Deadpool movies I loved, and Logan was one of my favorite comic book movies ever. Regardless if Brandon thinks it's not a comic book movie. But Wakanda Forever, I was on such a high because there was a lot of emotion that goes into it. And like you said, emotions are things that drive us, and it can also drive a movie. And in this case, it kept me going on a high throughout the movie. Throughout the film, I was happy. Like I said, all my emotions were hit, so I couldn't turn away.
Yeah.
And then it was visually stunning. Like I imagine it would be difficult to show an underwater civilization like that without it being like Avatar. You know what I mean? And I think it actually looked better than Avatar because it wasn't as clear. Because like if you go deep down in the ocean, it's going to be murky. It's going to be like, I don't know if dirty is the right word, but it's going to be murky, I guess.
It's going to be dark.
Yes.
I mean, there's no sun. Yeah.
Yes. And I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved everything about that. And I loved the way they explained the magic behind how people of Atlantis came to be. In like the idea, and then I love they broke down how they don't need gills to breathe underwater, how they've adapted to it.
Well, the everybody but him needs skills.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But because he's born of like 2 worlds.
Because he's a mutant.
Yeah, and I love that they brought up he was the last. So out of the 6 or 7 projects that we've had this year, 3 of them mentioned mutants. We had Kamala Khan. Actually, no, 4 of them. We had Charles Xavier in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We had Kamala Khan, who was announced as the first mutant in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Then we had She-Hulk with a couple of references. One, a man with metal claws getting into a bar fight.
Mr. Immortal.
Mr. Immortal, yeah, on top of that. And at the end, Jennifer going, "Hey, when are we getting the X-Men?" And then Namor flat out saying,
Such a good show.
Yeah,
Yo.
and then Namor flat out saying, "I'm a mutant."
Yo, if all the MCU gave us was She-Hulk and Wakanda Forever this year, like it would have been a success by any metric.
Well,
We got so much more.
Well, we're gonna have an end of the year MCU conversation because I have a lot to say about everything that popped out this year. Now that like everything will have like we've had time to kind of digest it all.
Yeah.
Because before we kind of watched it and then like we're immediately talking about it. But anyway, so it comes out, the movie's great. I leave it saying I need to watch it again. Because there were times in that movie where I was legitimately crying. Ramonda saying, "Haven't I given you guys everything already?" Like I cried because like it's a Black woman talking about her son dying, burying her son, and also burying her husband to her it might have been within a year because we don't know if she was in the blip.
Yeah.
If she was within the blip, she lost her husband and her son within a year.
Yeah.
That's you know what I mean? And granted, if it happened within 6 years, that's still difficult. But it's something else, man. Like I can't say enough good things about that.
Yeah.
About
And I
Black
think it's
Panther.
crazy. I didn't cry. A lot of people were talking about crying. I didn't cry at all. And I think part of that is because I dealt with so much debt and shit this year, like, and I cried so much this year. It was almost like therapeutic to see people in that kind of pain in the theater. It's weird, but
Well,
but
it was actually
yeah,
funny because I was gonna say that like you went through a lot this year.
yeah,
So it's like, you know what I mean? And I wouldn't say that you've been numbed to it, but I could understand why, you know what I mean? You may not have had the tears for
yeah.
for something.
No, and it's not. I want to call it being numb to it. It wasn't. I don't want to call it that. It was just more like I know this feeling. I get this reference.
So there's a few topics in particular that I want to talk about, and among them is just like the first Black Panther, the women stole the show again.
Yeah.
They should literally just call these movies the women of
Yeah.
Wakanda.
Yeah, I want to say shout out to the men. Like again, Namor. I think Namor's up there.
He's my favorite. Namor,
yeah.
as of now, is my favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe character.
Ross had another good showing, but he's such a great actor. I mean,
Shuri's favorite colonizer.
Yeah.
Your girl.
Yeah. But yeah, the girls definitely kicked ass, bro. You're like definitely. Even Riri Williams, like people said she didn't have to be in a movie, and I would concur. She didn't. Her role was really not that significant, but she didn't take anything away. She just added.
Yeah,
to
and
it,
now
which
we
is
have
crazy.
now she had a perfect introduction.
Yeah.
To her Disney Plus series.
Yeah, perfect.
So yeah, like it wasn't necessary. No, will I take it? Yeah, it's like someone saying, "Hey, do you want some pie?" Of course, I'd like some pie. Do you have ice cream? No. Okay, well, I'll still take the pie. But if you do have some ice cream,
throw that boy on there. I'll take the a la mode. I'd rather a la mode. I only eat pie a la mode. Of course, lactose free ice cream, but still,
I'll give you all the lactate. But yeah. So like the women in this movie just flat out rocked. Okoye is still my favorite person of Wakanda.
Yeah, man, she went through it, bro.
She did, and I love that once everything was even.
Yeah.
She was giving a tomb of the business.
Yeah.
I loved it, man. Like, and when I realized that was a tumor, I was like, yo, they pulled out a tumor, really?
Bro, this trade was crazy comic book accurate. Like
I was waiting
again,
for
they took their I mean they took definite liberties. Like it's not like a one-to-one recreation of the comic books, clearly. But the fact he said Empress Rex in Mayan. I can't speak English.
Yeah, when he said, but I loved it. Like, cause I had forgotten, because I wanted him to say it, but I had forgotten about it. And then when he said it in another language, I was like, yo.
I didn't even think about him saying it. I'm like, well, it ain't Atlantis. Ain't no like Greco-Roman. They pulled it off and it still felt natural. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just like, we're gonna do this. Like, you know what I mean? He was great. Namor was great.
Yeah.
The explanation.
Oh, you're gonna go with the Namor thing, aren't you?
I'm going with Namor, man. That's what his name is. I can't remember his Mayan name because I'm super American. So, but like, it was great, and I love the explanation for his name. Because when I first heard it, when he said Namor, I'm like, no love. Like I was like, what? And then when he broke it down to it being like the lack of, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I fuck with this.
Yeah, it's dope.
Shuri, if I had to pick, which is funny, I said to someone, I was like, once again, the Black Panther was the weakest part of the Black Panther.
Yeah, and I disagreed with you on that one.
I know you do, but I stay by it.
She was the center of that movie.
She was.
There was like a double center. It was
T'Challa, and he was still the weakest part of that movie. She wasn't bad. She was just the weakest part.
I thought she was great. I think her like definite, obviously forced character growth, but that's what tends to happen when you lose such an important part of your like life, right? You kind of force to grow into a role, and I think that you know, it was, bro. I think I
Again,
don't know, man. I
he
think the only
wasn't
the
bad.
the least important person in that movie was Riri Williams.
See, it's not important. It's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
In terms of if I had to rank every character in that movie,
Mm-hmm.
she like all the important characters in that movie, and I had to
Mm-hmm.
rank them in terms of performance.
Mhm.
She's probably gonna be ranked last.
Yeah.
Maybe I had a Riri Williams, but even then, the woman playing Riri Williams was fucking amazing.
You're not gonna disrespect. You're not gonna disrespect Letitia Wright and her anti-vax lifestyle.
Dominique Thorne.
Yeah,
Like she was,
dope.
and you know what I loved about it? She was hood without being hood. Like I love when she snatched that dude's phone.
What's that even?
She was hood without being hood. Like she was intellectually hood. She snatched that dude's phone out of his hand and basically demoed. He was just like, "Yeah, that was the original price until you tried to fuck me over. Now it's his price. Hit send."
I mean, COD, bro.
Yeah. Like that's what I mean. Like if she was like hood without being hood. I fucking loved it.
Yeah. But that's what I liked about her, because I don't know, I get what you're saying, but I would hate to see like people not familiar with the hood pick up that term, hood without being hood, because she was hood to me. Like she seemed like a very fleshed out, very familiar character. And again, we've talked about this before, why it's so important for authentically Black people to create these types of films, is because you get these kind of characters like Riri Williams. You know what I mean? Like I can't imagine what a Riri Williams would look like in this movie if it wasn't someone like Ryan Coogler in charge. You know what I'm saying? So she was hood, bro. That's it. We got smart people in the hood, period.
Well, I agree with
For
you.
people, yeah, I know you agree, but people that don't know.
And the reason I say it like that is because you can't be completely hood in movies, especially with Disney, because Disney will be like, "Hey, can you tone it down a little bit?"
I think she was though. Like, well, I mean, what was? Oh, okay, all right, Mister. All right. So what did it make her hood enough?
Yeah, I'm not having this conversation. Nope.
Run away from your own point. All right, go ahead.
I'm not running with my point. I said what I said. Right. we have a finite
with no context. With no context, but it's all good.
I did. Okay, fine. Motherfuckers can't handle real hood in a movie. People can't handle real hood in a Disney movie.
I don't even know what that means, bro.
Disney wouldn't be able to handle Danielle, your cousin, if she's just out chilling in a party. They wouldn't be able to handle Amanda. They wouldn't be able to handle that kind of hood. Where
I mean, I think it would be the language, right? Like it's not for kids.
That's part of it. There's also a demeanor that goes to it. There's also a certain level of looks that you give certain people when, like, you can't say what you want to say around certain company.
But I think they've done that in these movies to the extent for an MCU movie.
That's my point.
Or a Disney movie, like I don't know.
That's exactly my point, though. They can't do that in a Disney movie. They can do it to an extent.
Like, what do you want them to say? Like, oh, yo, nigga, fuck that bitch. Like I don't know. Like, what are they supposed to say? Like, it seems like that can kind of get into the whole performative thing. Like, I think that there are people when we either see The Wire, right, or we see Urkel. I think that's like the, what people traditionally think when they think about Hollywood.
And that's a
portraying
problem.
Black people. And I think this movie didn't do that. I think this movie showed a Black character with nuance, right? Like that Black character that really exists, right? Like the people that you mentioned, they're their own people. Like they're not catered to anything near what kids want. Black hood kids are not. But some of the stuff they say, like Pandagasms is not for kids, right? But if it was, it would be catered to that, even if a whole bunch of people from the hood, only people from the hood are watching it, and only people from the hood were involved with it, it will still be, edited in a way that's acceptable to families and children. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that takes away its hoodness. Like, the hood doesn't have to be fucking, I don't know, like rowdy and all types of stuff. Like, that's sometimes it's chill, sometimes
I
it's
didn't say it did. I spoke my piece. I've said what I said.
oh Jesus Christ.
It is what it is. Like I've said what I've said what I needed to say, and that's pretty much the end of that. We can have this conversation on another day, but like I said, we got to find out an amount of time. I still got to get up and go to work and shit, because I'm still working for the man and a bunch of C words.
This dude.
Just being.
They'll be making points if you don't want to stand by them, bro.
That's
all I'm saying. You know how we wrote.
But I'm standing by my point. I didn't concede. I still stand by my point.
Oh Jesus Christ, that's just being stubborn. But that's all right.
It's not being stubborn. It's standing by my point, and I just don't agree with you.
All right, that's cool.
So we also have T'Challa being cast, and not instead of recast, he was cast, which I thought was probably one of the when people found out that T'Challa had a kid during the mid-credit scene. Oh my God. I'm like, y'all didn't figure that shit out way back in the beginning of the movie? Really? Okay.
I did it.
As soon as they didn't show her, I was like, I was like, she's not. She's either knocked up now or she already had it. There was no, when they showed, I'm like, oh, okay, then she already had the kid. T'Challa, she was pregnant at the end of fucking the first Black Panther movie. He shot her club up that night.
Oh, for real.
There's no way she was pregnant that night.
It's facts. The time frame's kind of no, they don't. No. As soon as he could, bro.
As soon as he could. That night she was pregnant.
Yeah,
he rolled over. He rolled over, and she was just like, "What is this feeling?" And he was like, "Oh, you're pregnant. That's just how we do it. That's just that's what the heart-shaped herb does."
For real. And I'm curious to see, because a lot of Namor's strength and ability came from the fact that he was born from someone who had ingested the heart-shaped herb, or their version of the heart-shaped herb. So I'm interested to see with little T'Challa what powers he comes up with. And usually the kids of T'Challa have superpowers. I mean, they're usually like half some other superhero, but it should be interesting to see if he comes naturally superhumanly powered.
Oh, who knows? Maybe he may not be as strong, but maybe he's more agile, or like, you know what I mean? Like, fucking comic book DNA is fucking weird. Like, and people end up having kids, and it's like, oh, your kid is stronger than you are.
Yeah. Nah, I like it. His name being Toussaint is also pretty significant too.
Mm-hmm.
Toussaint's the first name. I'm gonna butcher his last name. Toussaint Louverture, I believe. I know I didn't say his last name properly. But he is one of the founding fathers of the Republic of Haiti. He is a famous, upriser who helped create the first independently African-run nation in the Western Hemisphere. So his name being Toussaint and being born in Haiti, for someone who's half Haitian or any person from the African diaspora, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Haiti could have been a real Wakanda if things turned out differently. So that was a pretty dope, pretty friggin' fire reference that I think a lot of people probably missed. But here you go.
Well, I hope they actually didn't miss it, because it was actually super dope. And when I heard the name, I was like, oh, okay. But again, it's Ryan Coogler. He seems to be someone who's always going to make it a point to highlight prominent people of color whenever he gets the chance.
And I think Evan Narcisse is involved in somewhat in helping craft these stories. I believe. I do know that he writes Black Panther stories in the comics, and he's Haitian, definitely an intelligent dude, and I wouldn't be surprised if his influence wasn't part of that decision making.
Yeah, but it makes sense. Like, you're supposed to bring people in who know certain things. Like, imagine if, I can't think of anything right now, but we've seen enough movies and shows and comic books where you're like, wow, this was poorly done. Have you ever met a black person in your life?
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, and it's not as if you can't hire a consultant.
Yeah, I mean, do that. Like I said, like if you're a white writer and you want to make a movie about black experiences, at the do whatever you want. I don't give a shit. But at the very least, hit up some black creatives and writers and shit.
Yeah, I don't know what Jason Aaron does to make all of his characters, from women to LGBTQ to people of color, stand out as well as they do. And it could just be research. It could just be being in tune to what people who struggle deal with. But he does it right.
Yeah, empathy. I think, and don't get me wrong. Like, I don't think a white person. I don't think it's impossible for a white person to create a good black character. Like, I don't think a good writer can create any good character. It's really just a depth. Because even I noticed even in Jason Aaron's writings and other white writers, even the original Black Panther, right? Black Panther, as groundbreaking and as much as the people involved in his creation cared about the civil rights movement, and it showed in that writing, the Black Panther really didn't start developing a lot of the richness we love about him until more black writers got involved.
Reginald Hudlin.
Exactly. You know, a lot, you know, there was some bad moments even from black writers with Black Panther, but some of his best writing.
There was a black writer who wrote Luke Cage, and like it was, and you know, Luke Cage is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
Got through about 5 issues, and I was like, well, this is trash. I won't be reading this anymore.
Yeah.
I haven't even gone back and I haven't even gone back to try to give it a shot. It was absolutely like ass. But
it's not just the skin color, it's experiences, right? It just so happens that your skin color in this country more times than not reflects your experiences.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes you get the situations where you have like the Carlton from Fresh Prince, when he got pulled over for quote unquote not having a map.
Yeah.
When realistically they were pulled over for driving while black.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
And even somebody like Carlton has a black experience. He can write a character of a black person growing up in affluence. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty sure he has a different experience than white people growing up in the same life. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Or maybe but you know, like I said, it's all about experience. Yeah. But there's also times where you'll have a writer who does something and doesn't even realize how effed up it is. Like Miles's father's name is Jefferson Davis. The newest writer for Miles Morales actually made it a point to change Jefferson's name to Morales. So now he's Jefferson Morales. And it was funny because the writer made a little joke. He goes, I'd like to find out why my father named me Jefferson. And I busted out laughing. I was like, that was kind of a shot.
Yeah. but even that's a super, like, stuff like that. Like, oh man, like somebody, a Latin writer I could see, somebody like a Latin American writer or a Dominican writer could be like, yo, his dad named him. His dad just wanted to give him a English name, and the only thing he knew was Jefferson because he used to watch the show or something. You know what I mean? Like a typical kind of like, that's like a typical immigrant story, bro. Like that's why you see these immigrants with like.
But it was Brian Michael Bendis who wrote this shit. You know what I mean? Jefferson Davis.
Yeah, exactly. It was unintentional, but at the same time, someone with the experience of that community could come in and kind of like flesh out that reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When Valkyrie found out Miles' dad's name, she was like, why? And I was like, I don't know. But again, it wasn't intentional, because none of Bendis's work in comic books has ever led me to believe that he would do something like that intentionally. And even his stuff, like the way he speaks outside of work, it seems like someone who actually gives a shit. Like, you don't create a character like Jessica Jones and not give a shit about women.
Yeah. I mean, if you care about I think you're 100% right, bro. Like, if you care about the content, like you're either a good writer or a bad writer.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
And like, being a bad writer and doing foolish things doesn't make you a bad person. It just means you did some silly stuff that shouldn't have been fucking done.
Yeah.
Shit happens. You live in your line, and you just kind of you roll with the punches and you deal with it, man. Sometimes shit happens.
Yeah.
which is another conversation I can't wait to have on the show. Like just the idea of people understanding that you can grow from mistakes. I've had this conversation on a previous episode with comedian Slade Ham, and he spoke about how some of the jokes he made on his podcast previously he would never make again because he's not the same person that he was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
There are things on my Twitter that if you go back 10 years ago, I'm pretty sure I'm like, oh, what the fuck was I thinking? That's when and people talk about like how Twitter was a wild west before Elonius Muskie took over.
Well, you know how I feel about that situation. We talked about it multiple times. Unless you did something crazy, I'm not all about canceling people. Like I think I don't think cancel culture is as out of control as people on the right want people to think. But I do know that there's a lot of people on both the left and the right that would rather turn off an opinion they disagree with or turn off someone who did something that they deem unforgivable, and instead of just seeing that person for the human they are. You know what I mean? Like they do that on both sides. You know,
absolutely.
what I'm saying?
And I don't think there are certain times where I do believe you should cancel a person. Like I can forgive a murderer, I can forgive a thief. I will never forgive a rapist. Like that's for me. That's just the biggest of no-nos to me. Like you don't.
But this forgiveness, do you have to forgive them to not cancel them?
That's the other thing.
You know what I'm saying? Like so rape, a rapist, right? Like they should never be forgiven for that crime, but should they be put in prison for the rest of their lives?
You don't want to know my opinion on it because it's gonna be worse than prison. I think they should be. I'm not a fan of the death penalty, but if you rape somebody,
you're a piece of shit.
You serve no purpose on that. Because what
somebody who does something like that, there's certain things somebody would do that they will always be a piece of shit in my mind. But then I think about like just the prison and capital punishment and how we deal with people that break the law. And we've had conversations with people that even say we should get rid of prisons, right? Like prison is
a scam because if it's not just supposed to be you're locked up and that's supposed to be you're supposed to be rehabilitated to be put back into society, and they're not doing that. You're basically going into a place, you're getting 3 meals, some daylight, and then being sent back in there. You're not creating a person that can come back into society. You're essentially creating a monster.
Some prison systems do that. I'm surprised. Like I know some people in the system in certain places. Like I would think this is probably the exception, way more the exception than it is a rule, right? That went to prisons and came back with like a college degree, right? Like a business plan, like things like that. So so it shows that it is possible to do things like that. Again, none of my friends are rapists. Let me get that. Let me just go ahead and say that it was other things, other crimes and misdemeanors. But I get what you're
saying, but like. It's obviously like when we speak on the show, we're not speaking in absolutes or anything like that. But that'll be my next list of things. I'm not going to call it nonsense because it's not nonsense, but I'm going to do an episode specifically on things that I think are a scam, like health insurance.
You think health insurance is a scam?
The way America does it, it is.
That'll be a pretty interesting conversation, actually.
Because there's no reason why just because I have a different insurance than someone else, I shouldn't be able to see the best person available if I need them. Like
but then there's 1,000 people with that same exact situation and one doctor.
Well, that's not the scam because that's just like anything else in life. If there's no availability, there's no availability. But you've taken away my option.
And then you got to pay for the doctor. The doctor got to get paid.
Yeah. Like I said, health insurance isn't a scam the way America does it. Like there's no reason why, like if there are 2 spots available for this doctor and me and you both need to go see this doctor and you have Superwalk insurance, I have Wade insurance. The name of the insurance shouldn't determine whether or not either one of us gets the care.
So let's say it was different, right? Like say if it wasn't say if, there's a whole bunch of different options it could be, but say it was no insurance, but you still have to pay the doctor, right? Say you're a billionaire and I'm a millionaire, right? Like I go to the doctor and I'm like, I got $500,000 here. Please, I need your help. And then you come to him, and then we come to him at the same time, and you're like, all right, well, I have $500 million. I need your help. Like,
But that
9 times out of
shouldn't
10, who's
matter.
that
It should-
doctor
it should
gonna
really
pick?
it shouldn't matter. It should depend on who needs the
You
help.
both need it the same. You both need it exactly the same. Or even if you don't need it the same, you both are dying. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there is no, well, this is where it comes into, but that's not, but see, that's also past an insurance thing. That now
Yeah,
becomes a
yeah,
medical thing.
yeah.
When you work, like if you're in the emergency department, nurses have told me how they have to make decisions
Mhm.
on who gets the bed.
Yeah.
And and they always say, and like the good nurses say to me, it's never an easy decision to make, but it's a decision that has to be made.
Yeah.
They're not making it because of insurance. They're making it because this is something that needs to happen. So there are going to be, but this is separate from my point with insurance.
Mhm.
Like your insurance and the money should not determine if everything's even in this situation. Like the insurance shouldn't determine whether or not someone gets the right therapist, the right psychiatrist, the right person to deal with their cancer or maternity. Like I've heard a lot of stories from couples who just couldn't do certain things because their insurance wouldn't allow it. Like, you know what I mean? Like when I went through my stuff with my back surgery, I was lucky that it happened at work, because Lord knows if I would have been able to see the right people, like, you know what I mean? Like, because it was, no, actually, no, I had to go within network. Like, you know what I mean? So, but I'm lucky that my surgeon is within the network. And when I had my second back surgery, he was still within the same network, and he's a world, well, I know a nationally renowned neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
So I was lucky, but
Yeah, I don't think it was just luck. I mean, you live in
No,
you live in a city where you have access.
that's
You
luck.
live in a city and you have
That
a
is-
job.
That
Yeah,
is literal luck.
Yeah,
Like,
whatever you want to call it. Whatever you want to call it.
I mean,
But
it's not destiny.
but I mean, yeah, whatever. I don't really care. I care about what you're saying. I don't care about like the terminology, but it's kind of like if somebody lives in like bumfuck Mississippi, regardless of how good their insurance is, it's gonna be pretty hard for them to find someone of that caliber to work on their back. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things that go into like
I absolutely
creating
agree.
disparities. Yeah.
I agree with that 1,000,000%. But with that, and we'll use the bumfuck Mississippi area as an example. If they can get to, if they have the means to get to said doctor, who they're covered by shouldn't affect them whether or not they can get it or not. Like you said,
But something's gonna affect it.
yeah,
There's always gonna be some type of thing. There's gonna be something.
there was always going to be something, but
Yeah.
taking away something that has caused a lot of people pain and suffering. People have died because they couldn't get the right kind of mental health. Like we are both examples of what the right therapist can do for you. You know what I mean? So, and I know what it's like to have a shitty therapist. And when you have a shitty therapist, you're like, you know what? Maybe jumping out the window seems like a great idea today. But we're fortuitous enough to live in Massachusetts. Where we could be considered the mecca of medical insurance, medical science, excuse me. So when we get sick, we can go places where we can get the help we need, and
And a lot of times you can get it for free if you know
Yeah.
exactly what it looks. So like,
you know what I mean?
it's
But-
possible.
But to your point again, like bumfuck Mississippi, they don't necessarily have that.
Yeah.
But then lies another problem. Like, and I could go on and on about this.
Yeah, it's kind of, I guess what I'm trying to do, like I hear people say that a lot about like health insurance and stuff like that, and I feel like you're right. Like my biggest problem is like I think the biggest issue is that for most people, your ability to get care is whether or not you have a job. Right? Because most people with health insurance get their health insurance from their job.
Yeah, but
Nobody's paying out of, most people with health insurance aren't paying out of pocket for their health insurance to a certain extent. Their job is paying. It's a group insurance plan, and they're getting a steep discount. And the insurance company's making money off the volume.
yeah.
And so the majority of people with
copay
insurance,
my copay is $15.
exactly. So most people who have insurance with a job are happy with their, trust me, your insurance is fine, bro. There's nothing wrong with your insurance.
It's fine, and it's
Yeah.
fine until you actually need a specialist, because there's my insurance wasn't always fine. Like, you know what I mean? I had at one point in time I had Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Everyone was like, "Oh, you should be fine." I'm like, "I'm not." Like, you know what I mean? But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
No, that's fine. Before we go,
I do want to have this conversation though. If you want to come on my show,
that's-
that'd be good.
No.
What? All right,
I'm joking.
cool.
I'm joking. Of course I will.
Oh.
Of course I will. If you want me to come on the show to support, I will absolutely come on the show.
Nah, I take the invite back.
I mean, you are not taking the invite back. Calm thine tits.
It's gone. It's gone.
Um,
This train, baby.
So I want to share a comment that I got on one of my earlier writings that I've been waiting for a while for this to pop up in my Facebook memories, and it actually came up. And it's one of the best comments I've ever received in my life. And I quote, "You're a fucking idiot who got every single fucking thing wrong here, and your bullshit attempts at assassinating Carol Danvers' character is pathetic. She's done nothing wrong. Rhodey volunteered to fight Thanos. She did not kill Bruce Banner. Many of the predictions you predicted did come true. So fuck you. And you left out the most important part, and then in all caps, Tony attacked her. He attacked with the intent to grievously harm or kill her. So he has no fucking leg to stand on. No, excuse me. So he has no fucking leg to stand on if she did kill him in self-defense, and neither do you. You're a dumb piece of shit. So is this article. Go fuck yourself."
I believe Tony Stark has a pair of legs.
No, I'm the one who doesn't have a pair of legs to stand on.
You do.
Yeah.
I can confirm. Old Man Wade has legs.
I also want to point out that I don't remember what I wrote in this article, but I'm pretty sure that I didn't assassinate the Carol Danvers
I think I could figure it out based on the conversation we had between me, you, and Brandon about this. Did you get upset, old man?
No, I just didn't give a fuck enough to have the conversation anymore.
Jesus Christ. But you care enough to bring it up on your freaking show.
Yeah, because the comment itself is definitely worth mentioning because it's fucking hilarious. Because people, and for the record, people listening, I didn't add those swears in just to freestyle. Those are literal things that were said to me.
Surprisingly, that message wasn't done in all caps, which is crazy. Like, you would think something like that would be done in all caps, but no. The constraints.
Oh, and shout out to the homie JD, who said to me, he commented on, he goes, "Yo, bro, this person somewhere still needs a hug."
Honest, but this isn't the first heated statement I've heard when it comes to this story. Like, I don't get it. Like, why are people so butthurt when it comes to it's both Civil War I and Civil War II have some of the most heated comic book debates. It's like sitting through a political science class when people don't know what they're talking about. It's crazy, man. Like, or like a philosophy class with Civil War II. So if people aren't familiar with the story, Carol Danvers has access to a mute. No, not a mutant. What is he? He's not a mutant. He's a
Who's this? Carol Danvers?
Ulysses. What is he? He's
Inhuman.
Yes. So she has access to an Inhuman, Ulysses, who's precognitive. So he can, supposedly he can tell to some accuracy events that are happening in the future. So she develops a team to kind of respond to these future events, a la Tom Cruise in Minority Report. So, she's pretty much the bad guy in this. So she ends up going out of control. Obviously,
so she tried to arrest Miles Morales.
Yeah, but
the most innocent person in the Marvel
Yeah.
cinematic in Marvel comics.
In
Fuck
a
outta
way,
here.
she manipulates Hawkeye into murdering Bruce Banner.
Well, technically, she didn't. Technically, Bruce Banner manipulated Hawkeye into murdering Bruce Banner.
Well, if it wasn't for Ulysses, it would. If it wasn't for this whole project, it wouldn't have happened. Okay,
That's true.
you
That's
know. So
absolutely
like
true.
a lot of things would. She's still dealing with the consequences of this. Surprisingly, Tony Stark was a voice of reason, telling her that she can't really take people off the board if they haven't done anything. And but people really get upset when
Yeah,
depending on what side you take.
This person was really ready to fight me, and I
Yeah.
remember responding, "Thanks for reading. I'll see you next week."
This dude.
You know me. You know me. I'm gonna say the most passive aggressive shit I can.
Yeah. It's like a white woman in office. Per my last email, best. Best. Yo, that was my joint, bro. Yo, I miss sending those types of emails. Like sometimes I miss work, bro.
Just send me a text message. Say
I
per my
enjoyed
last email, and just
Per my last
don't even
email.
say anything else. Just say per my last email, and then
Yeah.
don't say anything else. This has been the Old Man Wade Show. I want to thank the Superior Super Bowl podcaster for joining
Oh
the show.
my god. That's not my new name, by the way.
That is absolutely your new name.
Yeah.
Tell everyone where they can find you.
I'll tell them later.
Oh,
Yeah.
secrets.
Still working on it. I still got to get this website up before I could get the trying to get the website up, trying to get a logo done, trying to get a bunch of stuff before I could put this first episode out. I recorded it last week. It's just taking a while to get some of the stuff that I need to get done, but I'm
Good things
hoping
take time,
by
man.
this
Good
week
things take time.
we'll be able to. I had a conservative as
No,
well
don't
as-
tell him. Don't give him any tea until it happens. Y'all can make sure you download and listen to the show because it's a Super Bowl production. That means it's gonna be fucking amazing. So listen to it. That's all you need to know. Hobbies involved. It's gonna be great.
Oh damn. Thank you, sir. Your check is in the mail.
My check is in the mail. As long as you still got that 12-pack for my birthday, we good.
I don't drink like that. I haven't even touched one of those beers.
You can find me on Old Man Wade.com, OldManWadecom on all social media. That's where I'm at. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Elon Musk's Twitter, I guess that's what you want to call it. Elonius Muskie.
Yo, in our next episode, there's a lot we got to talk about. We haven't
I
recorded in
cannot
a while.
wait to dive. I'm gonna start.
There's so much to talk about.
I'm gonna go through Elon Musk's Twitter tweets.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna randomly say some of the shit that he says in the show. Like you're gonna be talking, I'm gonna go, "Hey, do you know Elon Musk said blah 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 blah?"
Yeah. Yo, a lot of people are gonna be butthurt if this whole thing, if he ends up being successful with this project. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just happy people are able to actually get a close and personal look at his like whole style of doing things. Hopefully, this takes a couple of notches off of his. Elon Musk is the most intelligent man in the world. I doubt it's gonna do for his fans, but I'm just glad people are seeing like this. Nobody knows what you're doing in the world, bro.
No,
nobody.
We are literally all figuring it out as we go. Can you imagine if our bodies didn't breathe for us?
Yeah, we'd be fucked.
Dude, as always, be excellent to each other.
Peace.
Oh man, that was fucking fantastic.
Damn it, Wade.